John Remus is the chief of Missouri River Basin Water Management Division with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Northwest Division, which is another way of saying that he understands the levels on Lake Sakakawea, and he understands what the position of the federal government or the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is when it comes to management of Lake Sakakawea. John, good to have you on News and Views.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
I have a lot of phone calls from people that have cabins around Sakakawea, homes, and fish it and everything else they're really concerned about what the level's going to be and that it's going to be going down significantly. And I just want to get you on to speak to that.
Okay. Well, as everybody in North Dakota knows, there's been a severe drought over the last several years in the upper Missouri River Basin, so there is less water coming into the system. And when that happens, the reservoir levels in our what we call our big three reservoirs, Fort Peck Reservoir in Montana, Garrison Reservoir there in North Dakota, and then Oahe Reservoir, which is downstream there in North Dakota and South Dakota, those all drop because that's the way the system was designed to do to provide water resources during an extended drought. So the last year we've seen Lake Sakakawea drop about 9 to 10 feet below where it was maybe this time last year. So we've begun to use that to conservation water quite a bit.
So what's going to happen if you visit with anyone who loves using that lake for recreational reasons? They're going to say that, you know, the downstream individuals are controlling the policy of it, that there is no barge traffic, that, you know, they have more political influence, that it's because of them that we're sitting up with a way lower lake than what we have to be. I want to give you a chance to respond to that criticism.
Okay, well, that's a common criticism from all the folks in the upper basin. I want to assure you there is navigation on the lower basin. In fact, there's been quite a pickup of the navigation activity in the lower basin over the last several years. So there are navigators on the lower basin or on the lower river that we do provide support for. What I want to remind everybody is that last year on July 1st, we did implement conservation measures to conserve water as we were getting into the drought, which did mean a lower level of support for the navigation industry in the lower river. And this year, we are going to be at an even lower level of service to the navigators in an effort to conserve water in the basin. So we are everybody's kind of feeling a pinch here, if I want to put it that way, both upstream and downstream.
What about what's the triggers? I mean, what if we get a bunch of rain in the spring? What if are we at such a point where this couldn't reverse itself in a quick fashion?
Well, Mother Nature can always intervene in an extreme way, which could reverse this. We have what we call storage checks, and we have 3 of them throughout the year. And the first one is March 15th, which was just Tuesday of this week, and that sets our service level for what we call the first half of the navigation support season. So we're going to be at a what we call minimum support for them up through July 1st, which is our second storage check. And based on whatever water is in storage in the system, will determine what the service level is for the second half of the season, as well as whether or not we need to shorten the navigation season support. Based on our most current forecast, we're probably going to be at minimum service for the entire year, and we're going to shorten the navigation season possibly as much as 10 days. So that's just based on our current forecasted runoff.
So,
but again, nothing will be official until July 1st. And then the last storage check is September 1st, which sets the winter flow releases out of the system.
So what you're saying is everybody's going to pay a price for the low water?
Well, yes. It's something that was developed when we developed our last water control manual back in 2004, where we actually implemented more stringent drought conservation measures than the previous manuals, which was aimed at conserving more water earlier in a drought.
Question comes in from our text club, our iConsultants of North Dakota text club, that says, what about the massive amounts of water used in the Bakken? Will it be restricted?
We manage the water that's in the reservoir. The amount of water that's withdrawn, whether it's out of the reservoir or out of the river, is really regulated at the state level. So if there's water permits that the state issues for oil exploration or irrigation or whatever, that's really regulated by another agency.
Even though they draw out of your reservoir.
Right. If they draw water out of the reservoir, that goes into what we call, I discussed the storage checks earlier. If there's less water in the reservoir, then we'll take more stringent conservation measures. Are
there any steps that can be taken to offset? Let me give you an example, Mr. Remus. The people that put the boats in, for example, the landings, can they be extended? Is there anything that can be done on the federal side to put some more money in during this process?
Well, the Omaha District is working at the local level with operators of these facilities to determine what we can do. We have certain legal restrictions on what type of projects we can spend our particular money on. But during the last drought, there was some relief provided for a number of areas on Lake Sakakawea, and the Omaha District is working at that right now. Right now, we don't see Lake Sakakawea dropping a whole lot below where it is today. Of the three reservoirs, that reservoir is probably going to get a little more runoff relative to its size than the other two. So we're looking at that to kind of maintain the elevation it has today through the year based on how we're going to manage the system.
So in other words, where it's at right now is where it's going to be at this year unless Mother Nature really kicks in.
Unless Mother Nature either really dries up or really kicks in a lot of water. Okay.
Is there anything else you want to tell the folks, Mr. Remus?
Well, it's just that, the system is operated as a system. Lake Sakakawea and the Garrison Dam are operated in conjunction with the other five main stem reservoirs. So when we make a decision to change the flow at one reservoir, that usually requires us to change something at one of the other reservoirs, or maybe all five of them. So it'll all kind of depend on how much water we get below the system this year. If the drought extends into the lower basin, then we will probably be drafting the reservoirs a little bit more. But right now, we don't see that happening.
John Remus, ladies and gentlemen, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and have a good day.